Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am so happy to have you, and I am so happy that you've decided to join me here for another video. If you're new here, I am happy to have you too, and welcome to the family. Okay, so for this video I'm going to be sharing with you some beautiful classic yet kind of weird names that I had picked out for my daughter, but we just decided not to go with those. We chose something differently. So if that is something that you're interested in, then just keep watching. Alright, so my husband and I, we found out that we were having a baby girl around 22 weeks pregnant. I really wanted my first child to be a girl because I knew that I wanted a girl, and I knew that if the first one is a girl, then it eases everything else. Like if I did decided to go ahead and get pregnant again, it wouldn't be so mind bothering if it is a boy or girl. Not that if my first pregnancy was a boy, I would have died or whatever, but you can have preferences. It doesn't make you a bad person or a bad mom. So I wanted a girl first, and God decided to give me my heart desired, and I am so thankful for that. Anyway, when we found out that we were having a baby girl, it was one of the happiest days of my life. We now know that we are having a girl. Let's just go ahead and cross one thing off the list, and that is choosing a name for baby girl. And I thought this is going to be the easiest thing that we ever have to do during this pregnancy or even parenthood, because I already have a list of names that I have pre-registered in my head before I even met my husband, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna just go ahead and choose from this list to name our baby girl. Little did I know that all the names, okay, most of the names on my list, my husband didn't agree with them, so I had to scratch all those names, and here we are starting from square one trying to choose a name. So to make the process a little easier, we decided that we were going to use a couple criteria to guide us into naming our baby girl. So what we did was we said, how would the name sound in certain situations, certain scenarios? So we'd go, how would the name sound as a baby, if you're talking to a baby? How does the name sound if you're scolding a toddler? How does it sound if you're the boyfriend? My husband didn't like that part. How does it sound at a job interview, at a meeting conference, at a graduations? You know, just life scenarios. We try to play around with a name and see if we did like it. Then the next guideline we used to choose our baby name was the syllable counts. Like, you don't want your baby name to sound too flat, like all names are just one syllable and then it just sounds flat. But you also don't want it to be like a mouthful, like all three names, first, middle, last name, is like 3 to 4 syllable long. You don't want that. So we did consider the syllable count. The other thing that we considered was the initial. You don't want your child initial to spell a bad word or a sad word. The last thing that we considered was the nickname. That was mainly me, because my husband was like, you don't always have to choose a nickname from your child's name. A nickname can be something different, but not me. If I am thinking of a name for my baby, I want to know, so what do we call the baby? And my husband was like, more like, when the baby is here, how the baby behaves, the personalities, where she would get her nickname from. But I wasn't having that. So what we did was we divided our name counts into 3 categories. So the first one we had was last name for first names, and then we also thought about places that we wanted to name our child, and the last one was car names for her baby girl. Yes, my husband is a car fanatic, and that was something that he wanted to incorporate within our children. name, so we decided to give it a try, give it a chance. I wasn't with it from the get-go, but we end up naming our baby girl after a car. It's beautiful though. It is beautiful, I tell you. So first we're going to start with the last names that we had for our baby girl first name. So the first one on the list is Madison. And I really love the name Madison. Like, there was so many names that I could get from that one first name that I could call her, and I could just see me talking about some, hey baby Maddie, or we could call her Hattie. The next name that we had on our list was Emerson. I love the name Emerson, but my husband wasn't too on board with the name Emerson. He wanted to go with a derivation and called her Emery, but I did not like Emery so much as I like Emerson, and he did not like Emerson so much as he liked Emery. But we both did like the nickname Emmy, and that was something that we just couldn't agree on. Like, we couldn't choose one, and he did went ahead and made a joke and saying we could just call one our first name and one our middle name, so we'd have a little Emerson Emery, and that didn't sit well with me. So we decided that, all right, let's move on to a next name. So the next one we moved on to was Reagan. And I love the last name Reagan so much. As a little girl first name, it just, Reagan. It is just so beautiful, but my only problem is, if we call her Reagan, like, what nickname will we call her? Ray? And that didn't sit well with me. So of course we didn't went ahead with that one. Alright, so the next name is a Finley, and again, the only reason I didn't use this one was because I couldn't find a nickname that I'd call her, because Finn, I did not like the name Finn. I loved the name Finley, but the name Finn just didn't sit well with me, so we gave that one a pass also. Then there was Monroe. And we were like, Monroe for a girl. My husband was like, that's a boy name. I was like, that's not a boy name. That's a gender neutral name. It can be a boy name and it can be a girl name. Like, it's just so beautiful when it's used as a girl name. I really love the name Monroe. But my husband just thought it was too masculine. Like, it suits a boy more. So, of course, since we could not agree on that name, we decided to give that one a pass also. Then there was Bailey, and I love the name Bailey because there was so many different spelling that I could choose from when it comes to the name Bailey. Like, I could just go the regular route and say Bailey, or what if I want to jazz it up a little bit and call her Baileigh. We could even say Bayley, like a play on both Y's in both syllables. Like, it was so beautiful, and I went back and forth on how to spell the name Bailey, but I could not decide on which spelling I liked more. So after time, I was like, you know what, since I can't decide on how to spell her name, let's try to find a different name. And so we thought of Harper and McKinley. And again, I liked McKinley over Harper, and I think it's because it starts with the letter M, because I was really like starting to move towards names that begin with the letter M. I don't know why my name doesn't begin with the letter M, neither does my husband, and I can't think of anyone in my family that name begin with the letter M. Well, I guess that's my reason. It was just different from everyone else in our family, and I really wanted a little girl with the name that begins with the letter M. Alright, so we're going to move into places that we had for our baby girl name. And the first one was Savannah. And I love the name Savannah because two things. It's a name of a place, and it's like a classic name. It's a name that has been around for a good bit of time, but it's not outdated. It doesn't sound old, and I just thought it might just fit my little girl. We could call her Savvy, Vanna, Sav. It sounded so great, especially with our last name, because it's Savannah. That's 3 syllables, and our last name is 1 syllable. So I'm like, saying the name together, it really rings a bell. It wasn't too much. It sounds great together. It was a good baby name, and it still sounds professional. So I'm like, of course we gonna name our baby girl Savannah. But of course my husband didn't like the name Savannah. So we end up taking that one off the list, because what's the sense if both of us can't agree on a name for something both of us created? So I was like, all right, let's try to find a next name that both of us can agree on. So the next thing we thought about was Sienna. My husband did like this name, but I didn't like it so much. Like at the beginning when I started saying the name, he was like, you're not pronouncing it properly, and I'm like, how do you pronounce it then? And then that was a problem for us, because he wanted to pronounce it some way and I wasn't pronouncing it the way that he was. And we do have different accents, because I'm from a different place that he's from, so of course we speak differently. And he was like, when we name the child that, then we both will be saying something differently, and we don't want to confuse our baby on how to pronounce the name. He did has a great point there, so I decided that, you know what, Sienna ain't the name then. So we moved to Sydney. I love the name Sydney because I want to go to Australia so badly. Like, it's like on top of my list of places that I want to go. Like, I don't know why I really want to go to Australia so much when they have so many deadly snakes there, and I am terrified of snakes. But Australia is on the top of my list of places that I want to travel to, and I think I may just end up going there soon enough. So we had the name Sydney. And again, my husband, I swear he's the one who keeps knocking down all my name ideas. He was like, Sydney, like Sid the Science Kid. I'm like, what's wrong with Sid the Science Kid? He was like, have you not seen him? I'm like, yeah, he's brilliant. He was like, have you not seen him? So every time I mention the name Sydney, is like Sid the Science Kid. So I'm like, you know what? We're not doing that. So we moved on to Cairo. Cairo is such a beautiful name. I love the name Cairo. But then we found out that that name was dedicated to someone else's child that we know. And we just decided that, you know what, since they already have the name, we don't want to make it sound like we are piggybacking on their name. Or what if our baby was born first and we end up naming the baby Cairo? Does it sound like we took the name from them? What if their baby was born first? Because both our due dates were in the same month, and we just didn't want it to be like, you know, any kind of confusion or conflict between anyone by us naming our babies the same name. Yeah, I know it kind of sounds weird, but it was just a thought process that we had behind the name Cairo. But I did think of Israel and Egypt, and I loved Israel out of all those names the most, just because of the name Izzy. Like, tell me you do not love the name Izzy. Tell me. Okay, so you do love the name Izzy, and so do I. And my husband did kind of like the name Izzy too, but Israel wasn't sitting well with him. And let me tell you something. I think while all these names did not sit so well with my husband was because he really wanted to name our baby after a car. Like I said before, he's a little fanatic when it comes to cars. Like, he'll sit down and talk your head off when it comes to car companies, race cars, race car drivers. Like, that's just his thing. And it really doesn't bother me, but whenever he said, why can't we name the baby after a car? All that comes to my mind is like Mercedes. And that's not something that I wanted for my baby girl. So I was like, nah, I don't think we are going to do that. But it's like, give me a chance. I'll give you a list of some cars name, and if you don't like any of those, then we can move on, but give me a chance. So I did give him a chance, and he gave me some names, and I'll go ahead and list the names that he gave me, and most of them were beautiful. Let me not tell you, I did not know that some of these car names exist, and they were quite beautiful for me. The first one he gave me was Julia, and I loved Julia just because of the way it's spelled, Julia. And I was like, it's spelled beautiful, but I don't like it because when people hear the name Julia, they're not thinking of the way it's spelled. They're just thinking of the regular Julia spelling. And I don't know if I like that for her, because it will look beautiful on paper, but it's not as beautiful when it's pronounced. I really love the name Aspen, but it was becoming too popular. Like, I could, like, almost everywhere I turned there was an Aspen, whether it was spelled as the SUV ASPEN, or there was like some other derivations like ASPYN. I just didn't want to name my baby that because I felt like it was a name that was becoming popular, and it's just one of those names that would become popular for some years and then just died out right after. I considered this one pretty hard. I really was going to name her Nova. I was going to name my baby Nova, until one day I tried to look up the meaning of Nova, because that's one thing also with me. I like to know that whatever name I give my child, it has a powerful meaning to some extent. So I tried to look up what does the word Nova mean, and for some reason it came up as no go for some Spanish word. I think, don't quote me, but I think it says Nova means no go in Spanish. And I was like, no go? My child is going to go. She's going to go places. All the things she'll do, what she'll become. And just for that reason, I decided that, no thank you. That is not the name for my baby girl. So we decided that none of these names were fit for a baby girl, and we decided to go with something different. And the name that we chose for her, it's a double barrel name. It was the name of a car. I decided that I'd add something else to the name just to make it not sound so car-like, and it is beautiful. We get compliment on the name quite a lot. But before I go, let me tell you, if you're trying to name a baby, whether it is a girl or a boy, here are some tips for you to use when it comes to naming your baby. The first one, avoid passing trends. Classic names. You can choose classic names, but they don't have to be boring. Take a look at your family tree. Is there someone that you want to honor? Is there a name that has been passed down that you want to use? Look at the meaning. Contemplate all names. Don't forget the initials. Don't forget the initials. Say the name out loud. Do you like how the names sound? And last but not least, don't stress. It is a name. People change your name all the time. Give the child a name that you like, that you see fitting. Thank you so much for staying with me to the end. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. If you have anything you want to say, leave it in the comment section below. And if you want to see more of these kind of videos, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.